Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful idea, one that literally transformed entire industries and built some of the most legendary companies out there. It's called Total Quality Management, or TQM. And really, it's all about one big shift, from finding mistakes to preventing them from ever happening in the first place. I mean, that's a huge question, right? But what if the answer isn't just about one brilliant product or some genius marketing? What if it's about a relentless, company-wide obsession with getting every single little detail right? That obsession, that's quality, and it's exactly what we're going to dive into. So to really get why TQM was such a game changer, we first have to understand the problem it was designed to solve. And that problem was the old, kind of lazy mindset of just being good enough. Just look at the difference here. The old way was this expensive game of catch-up. You'd make everything, and then you'd have a special department whose whole job was to hunt for all the mistakes. It meant quality was basically an afterthought, you know? It was always someone else's problem. TQM just completely flips that on its head. It's all about building quality in from the very beginning, making it everybody's job, and focusing on preventing problems, not just detecting them. Okay, so how do you get out of that good enough trap? Well, you need a full-on revolution in how you think. TQM wasn't just a new set of rules. It was a completely new philosophy for how a business should even operate. At its core, TQM is this fundamental belief. If you get quality right, everything else, from happy customers to bigger profits, it'll all fall into place. And notice the key words here. All activities and all employees. This isn't about setting up a quality department in the corner. It's about building a quality culture that runs through the entire organization. And if we break down the name, it gets even clearer. Total means exactly that. From the CEO all the way down to the person on the factory floor, absolutely everyone is involved in the quality process. Quality is just what it sounds like, a commitment to excellence. And management means you are actively leading and guiding this whole cultural shift. So how do you actually build this quality-obsessed culture? Well, it stands on 6 foundational pillars. Think of these as the core principles that hold the whole philosophy up. First, it absolutely has to start with committed leadership. If the people at the top aren't bought in, it's just not going to work. The end goal, the whole point of it all, is customer satisfaction. And you get there through employee involvement. Because let's be real, the people actually doing the work know it best. The engine that keeps it all moving is continuous improvement, always looking for ways to get better. You also need strong supplier partnerships because your quality is only as good as the parts you start with. And finally, you need performance measures because you can't improve what you don't measure. Now, out of all those pillars, maybe the most dynamic one is continuous improvement. This is really the engine that drives the whole system forward, and it runs on a very specific, repeatable cycle. This is the PDCA cycle, and it's the heart of TQM. You can almost think of it like the scientific method, but for business. First, you plan. Find a problem and come up with a theory on how to fix it. Then you do. You test your idea, but on a small scale. Next, you check. You look at the results. Did it work? Was your theory right? And finally, you act. If it worked, great. You make it the new standard. If it didn't, you take what you learned and you start the whole cycle all over again. It's this relentless loop of getting better and better. TQM also completely changes how you think about money. Instead of asking, how much is quality going to cost us, it asks a way more powerful question. How much is poor quality costing us right now? See, most businesses only really see the obvious failure costs. You know, the wasted material, the warranty claims, the customer complaints. But the real genius of TQM is realizing that a small, smart investment in prevention and appraisal, things like better training and more testing up front, can practically wipe out those much bigger failure costs down the road. It's that classic ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, but applied to an entire company. So when you put all these pieces together, the philosophy, the pillars, the tools, what you get isn't just a new management system. What you get is a total transformation of the entire organization's culture. W. Edwards Deming, who was one of the key architects of this whole movement, he put it perfectly. You don't inspect quality into a product at the end of the line. You can't. You have to build it in from the very first step. It's a huge shift from reactive cleanup to proactive, smart design. And that really brings us to a final thought. This stuff isn't just for making cars or writing code. Think about your own work, or your team, or even just a personal project you're working on. Where are you waiting until the end to check for mistakes? And how could you shift your thinking to prevention, to building quality in from the very start? That's the challenge of TQM.